This is the story of Mr. Social Security. It's a story about disabled clients choosing an attorney, getting justice, injustice. Mr. Social Security is a disability attorney or former disability attorney named Eric C. Conn. He represented people who had severe disabling conditions. They needed Social Security disability, and they chose Eric Conn to represent them. How do you choose an attorney? Why did they choose Mr. Conn? Mr. Conn was born to a family with a long history of practicing lawyers in the Pikeville, Kentucky area. That's in Appalachia. It's coal mining territory. Life is hard there. One news source said that half the population lived below poverty level. Mr. Conn began his legal career in 1987. By all accounts, he was a very talented Social Security disability lawyer. He was the only attorney in the state of Kentucky who was board certified. The only one. He was the most accredited Social Security lawyer in the state. The only one. Mr. Conn quickly gained a reputation as a highly successful and flamboyant attorney. He used flashy advertising. Attorney Conn was known for his colorful, outrageous, and appalling marketing tactics. He purchased billboards, radio, and television ads. He dubbed himself Mr. Social Security in a series of cheesy TV ads. One advertisement featured dancing girls who he labeled Conn's hotties in their tank tops. Mr. Social Security also impressed clients by installing a 19-foot tall statue of Abraham Lincoln near his office complex in rural Stanville, Kentucky. How about that? It cost him $500,000, but I guess Mr. Conn realizes that everything comes with a price, or so they say. Mr. Conn's marketing included a YouTube video. Yeah, Mr. Conn was on YouTube. That video is still there. It's a 2013 video. Think of that date. That video came on after the S hit the fan. It was titled Eric C. Conn Law Firm, Monkey Business. There's a link to it below. Conn was prominent everywhere. He was known for success. He became one of the top disability lawyers in the entire country. Conn managed a lucrative law firm. He had clients across the entire country. By 2010, Conn was the third highest paid disability lawyer in the country, collecting $3.9 million from the Social Security Administration that year alone. I wonder who the other two lawyers were. To be awarded that much, he must win at least 650 cases at a maximum $6,000 fee in each. Now, I don't think that the maximum fee was that high back then. That's a lot of cases. According to local attorney Mark Wolander, people would line up at Conn's office. There'd be 50 or 60 cars in his parking lot as early as 8:30, 9 o'clock in the morning. In a CNBC documentary, FBI supervisory special agent Donnie Kidd commented, he said, I think Conn's clients went to him because he won. He never lost. Why would you not go to him? You'd be crazy not to. Wouldn't your first choice be Eric Conn, Mr. Social Security? He's the guy with Honest Abe by his side. He drives a Rolls Royce in poverty-stricken Appalachia. The guy's a winner. He never loses. So answer me, were Mr. Social Security's clients scammed by his marketing, by his apparent success? Did they have a real choice of attorney? Is either Eric Conn, who never loses, or a good lawyer who may win 60, 65, 70% of his cases at most? I don't know. You had to go to the guy who never lost, right? One thing is certain. The United States government was scammed. News articles said that Mr. Conn admitted to ripping off taxpayers of nearly $600 million in a scheme that targeted people seeking Social Security disability. The Social Security Administration estimated that Conn's fraud scheme cost the government around $550 million. That scheme has since been called the Big Con. Ultimately, his fraud cost not only the government, but his clients and their loved ones dearly. Disabled people were targeted by Mr. Conn. Prosecutors said Mr. Conn sent clients to dishonest doctors, including clinical psychologist Alfred Bradley Adkins. I wonder how you find dishonest doctors. Dr. Adkins was also indicted in the scheme. Dr. Adkins gave Mr. Conn's clients phony disability evaluations. Afterwards, their claims for Social Security disability were approved by Judge Daugherty. Judge Daugherty was later charged with taking bribes to rubber stamp Mr. Conn's paperwork. Conn and Judge Daugherty they ran a mill. At the peak of their partnership, Judge Daugherty was alleged to hold hearings for as many as 20 of Conn's clients spaced 15 minutes apart, one after the other. Approved. His Honor attributed the short back-to-back hearings to his dyslexia. Judge Daugherty said he preferred to get cases done in a timely manner. Now, I don't understand how dyslexia requires a fast-track docket, but he needed an explanation, good or not. Prosecutors revealed the judge had financial reasons for holding Mr. Conn's hearings. Duh. Judge Daugherty received about $8,000 monthly in cash from Mr. Conn beginning in 2004 and ending in 2011. That year, 2011, guess what? Judge Daugherty, he was placed on leave. Wonder what for. The total Judge Daugherty received from Conn was $609,000. That averaged $193.40 per 15-minute case. That's nearly $775 an hour. Judge Daugherty, ka-ching, ka-ching. But the con man took in much more. He got $23 million out of the scheme. Lawyers, Social Security lawyers, can't calendar their cases before any certain judge. They can't calendar them on any certain date nor time. So how did Mr. Conn get all his cases before Judge Daugherty? Other lawyers are getting judges, might be a 20% judge or a 70% judge or a 50% judge, but Mr. Conn managed to get a near 100% judge for his clients. Well, Judge Daugherty sought out pending disability cases of Eric Conn's clients, and you can bet there were a lot of them. He reassigned Mr. Conn's cases from other judges' dockets to himself. Daugherty then contacted Mr. Conn. He reportedly identified the cases he intended to decide the following month and solicited Conn to provide medical documentation supporting either physical or mental disability determinations. Once the documentation was sent to Daugherty, the judge fast-tracked the process and he approved all cases for Mr. Conn's clients, often without a hearing. His Honor approved 3,149 cases for Mr. Conn. This resulted in His Honor having a 99.71% approval rate. Social Security keeps track of approval rates. You'd think that they might think that's a little bit high. That was much higher than the average approval rate in such cases, which was said to be around 60%. You know, think about it. Think about these disabled people. Even with an average approval rate of 60%, they would have got Social Security disability, at least 60% of them. So 60% of Mr. Conn's clients would have got Social Security disability anyway. But because he was their attorney, all of their cases have either been suspended, they've been overturned, they've been subject to reconsideration. They've suffered. An average attorney would have, like, they had a 60% chance of winning their cases. Maybe they could have won it without an attorney. Yet nearly 40% of Mr. Conn's clients were also winners, 40% that wouldn't have otherwise have won Social Security. They were winners, or were they? Everyone suffered consequences from Mr. Conn's scheme, including the 60% who would have won without him bribing a judge and doctors. That's sad. Maybe it was bound to happen sooner or later, and maybe it'll happen again. It was 2012 when Mr. Conn's fortunes changed. Remember, the judge was put on leave in 2011. Somebody knew something. It was 2012 when Mr. Conn's fortunes changed. Two Social Security office workers blew the whistle on Conn and Judge Daugherty. I'm not going to mention their names because they received threats of violence. Their property was vandalized. They feared just being in public because these people in the area were afraid. Many of them were afraid they're going to lose their Social Security disability benefits, their health care, because the two whistleblowers were jeopardizing all of Judge Daugherty's crooked cases. And theirs were among them. Not that they chose it. The two office workers noticed cases were disappearing or were not documented properly. After personally investigating, they discovered Judge Daugherty was the one intercepting the cases and taking possession of them. They realized Daugherty was ruling favorably to Conn's clients 99% of the time. That was unheard of. They reported the connection to their supervisors. No. Instead of being commended for taking action, the whistleblowers' concerns were dismissed. Actually, it's worse than that. Wait till you hear. They weren't dissuaded. They went to the Wall Street Journal to tell their story. That's when all heck broke loose. There were even congressional hearings. And a judge goes to prison. Two judges go to prison. Chief Administrative Law Judge Charlie Paul Andrus wanted to cover up the scandal. He said that he wanted to cover it up because he found it personally humiliating, or so he later claimed as an excuse. Judge Andrus met with Mr. Conn shortly after the Wall Street Journal article, and they devised and implemented a plan to discredit the informant and to get her terminated. You can't make this stuff up. Judge Andrus was later charged with conspiracy to retaliate against an informant. He pleaded guilty and served a 6-month prison sentence, followed by 2 months of home detention. Whew. There's one judge in prison and one to go. Mr. Conn and his accomplices were contriving an intricate scheme to fraudulently induce payment of $600 million in federal disability and health care benefits. It's since been labeled The Big Conn. Indeed, Apple produced a mini-series about Mr. Conn's scam by that title. Judge Daugherty, then age 81, was sentenced to 4 years in prison for his role in the scam. He pleaded guilty to 2 counts of receiving illegal gratuities. The judge was ordered to pay restitution of more than $93 million. I guess justice has a ridiculous sense of humor. How is an 81-year-old discredited, dishonored judge going to make $93 million? They know he didn't get that much out of the scam. How's he going to come up with that? That's ridiculous. Basically, the sentence they gave him at age 81 is a life sentence. Matter of fact, Judge Daugherty died from health complications while incarcerated on October 19, 2019, at the age of 83. Dr. Adkins was also found guilty. The clinical psychologist was convicted by a jury of mail fraud, wire fraud, conspiracy, and making false statements. He tried to hang himself before sentencing. He was sentenced to 25 years in prison. And Adkins was fined $93 million. Do they expect him to pay monopoly money or what? Sometimes sentencing has to be sober. Sometimes sentencing has to be rational. When the public looks at this, they just think, this is madness. Did anyone expect Dr. Adkins to pay $93 million? Did the sentencing judge expect it? And where do you get the $93 million from anyway? Where do they get these figures? Was that fair? Dr. Adkins was a part player in the scheme. He didn't orchestrate it. He didn't contrive it. He's a part player. I'm not condoning his actions, but I want to know what scales of justice were used to give him a prison sentence twice that of Mr. Social Security. Think about it. Dr. Adkins was sentenced to 13 years more imprisonment than Mr. Conn. How is that justice? According to federal prosecutors, Mr. Social Security's cut in this scam was estimated to be over $23 million. And in a plea agreement, Conn pleaded guilty to theft of government money and paying bribes. He was sentenced to 12 years in prison. Well, actually, he was originally just sentenced to 12 years, and he wasn't placed in custody. He was allowed to go home under house arrest. How come the others weren't allowed that? Were they expecting Mr. Conn to suddenly come up with $100 million as a condition of a suspended sentence or such thing? I don't know, and I can't tell you. Conn was required to pay Social Security and Medicare $100 million and another $5.7 million to the Justice Department. I guess if he'd come up with that money, maybe he would have got some kind of suspended sentence or some kind of split sentence. I don't know. I don't know what they had in mind. Why didn't they require him to pay $550 million? That's the amount the government lost. That's the amount Social Security was scammed. As a condition of his plea agreement, Eric Conn was required to rat out his accomplices. Yeah. So how well did he do that? Well, did he rat out Judge Daugherty? Well, he did more than that. Conn blamed Judge Daugherty for orchestrating the scheme. He said the judge done it. He said the judge took all of his cases and put them on its docket, that Daugherty had control over the cases. He said he couldn't get them away from Judge Daugherty's docket. Judge Daugherty's the one that put them on in front of him. And think of it. If Daugherty can control the disposition of Eric Conn's cases by putting them all on his docket, he could rule unfavorably on them. He could disapprove 80%, 90% of them. Even 60 or 70% is going to take away Mr. Conn's reputation, so he could ruin them. He recounted how the former judge first approached him for a $5,000 quick cash loan to cover the judge's niece's alleged drug rehabilitation treatment. Sounds like a good cause. His Honor reminded Mr. Conn of his power to approve Conn's cases. Wasn't he also reminding Conn of his power to deny Conn's disability cases? What happened next? There was another such transaction, cash transaction, the following month. After that, Conn claimed that he agreed to pay Judge Daugherty $400 for each case which Judge Daugherty approved. So what do you think? Who orchestrated the big con? Was it Mr. Social Security or was it Judge Daugherty? Well, let's follow the money. His Honor got $609,000 from the scam, but Conn got $23 million. Conn clearly profited most. You make the call, though. Whose scam was it? Who began this scam? So blame the judge. Seemed to work for Conn. Conn had another trick up his sleeve. Yep, Mr. Social Security, Eric C. Conn. Guess what? Well, he goes home from court after hearing his sentence, not knowing whether it's going to be active or not, and he vanished. Poof. Soon after his sentencing, the FBI reported the wayward attorney fled after wiring large sums of money to overseas banks. I guess that means he fled overseas. 6 months later, Mr. Conn was caught in Honduras. But he justified his escape. Eric Conn said he did it so that Dr. Adkins could get a fair trial. So Eric Conn, he was a champion of justice. Is this the same guy who tried to ruin an honest whistleblower and get her fired? Maybe at one time he was a champion of justice. Maybe he had been, but that time had passed. During his escape, Eric Conn was sentenced in absentia to 12 years imprisonment on fraud charges, less than the doctor. After his return, he was sentenced to another 15 years for his escape attempt. I guess the court got real mad about that. They weren't too mad about him scamming all those disabled people. He was sentenced to 15 years for an escape attempt. The 15-year sentence ran consecutively 12-year sentence for defrauding all of his clients, Social Security, and the federal government. So Conn had to serve 27 years in prison. During Conn's sentencing hearing, the court also ruled that he had violated the terms of his bond by fleeing the country. Duh. Conn had to forfeit property secured by his bail. That included his Floyd County Law Complex, which looked to me to be a couple of trailers, his giant statue of Abraham Lincoln, and a replica of the Statue of Liberty he had in front of his office, among other things. According to Wikipedia, Mr. Conn is currently incarcerated at the Federal Correctional Institution, Fort Dix. His scheduled release date is November 29, 2039. He will then be 79 years of age. Isn't that ironic? Mr. Conn's sentence for fleeing the country 15 years was greater than that for scamming his poverty-stricken disabled clients and the social administration. What do you think about that? If Conn hadn't tried to escape, he would be a free man in 2024. But what about his victims, his clients? That's what this video's about. Disabled people. Disabled people who relied on their attorney, an attorney with this aura of invincibility, Mr. Social Security. What happened to his disabled clients? 60% of his clients likely would have won Social Security disability without him, paying off crooked judge and crooked doctors. Thousands of Mr. Conn's clients received favorable decisions by Judge Daugherty will be reevaluated. Nearly 2,000 of them have since had hearings to prove their disabilities. Consequently, half of them lost their benefits, financial and medical. All of Eric Conn's clients are paying a price for his fraud. After all, many of his clients would have received Social Security without him. 60% of his clients would have. But now everyone is paying the price. So I guess the message here is sometimes choosing an attorney from TV ads, billboards, and publicity stunts doesn't end well. But like the FBI special agent said, who can pass up a sure thing? Let me ask you, would you have hired Eric Conn for your disability claim? Thank you for watching the Disability Granted channel. If you think this video would help other disabled people, please share, like, and subscribe. Good luck.